Welcome to Channel 8 News. I'm Daniela Martinez-Serrano.
And I'm Ryan Mannering. Coming up on today's show, we find out why a K-State student is sleeping outside in this frigid weather.
And we'll take a look at drones and the future of Airways at K-State Salina. But first, let's take a look outside with our weather woman, Megan Miller. Is it starting to heat up yet, Megan?
Thank you, Daniela and Ryan. It is starting to warm up out here. It's very comfortable now. We've got a temperature about 40 degrees now, which is a very drastic difference from last week when the ground was covered in snow. As you can see here, the snow is almost completely melted, but will that snow be back? We've got the 5-day forecast and more coming up on Channel 8 News.
It's Channel 8 News, KKSU LP. For Manhattan and Riley County. From Kansas State University, this is Channel 8 News.
Welcome back. I'm Daniela Martinez-Serrano.
And I'm Ryan Mannering. On today's show, we'll find out why people were jumping into freezing water.
And we'll have highlights of K-State's big win against rival KU. But first, K-State police were looking for Nathan Power, a student who intentionally bumped KU player Jamari Traylor during the storming of the court.
Major Don Stebbings of the K-State police said that the student turned himself in and has been cooperating. He was given a notice to appear in city court. Yesterday,
Power sent a letter to the editor of the Collegian apologizing for his actions and to the rest of the KU team. This picture was taken right after the game was over. As you can see, this K-State fan shoulder checked one of the KU players after the final buzzer.
As you can see in the video, the student runs directly towards Traylor and bumped him on his side during the chaos.
K-State Athletic Director John Curry sent out a statement apologizing to the Kansas team. Curry said, "We fell short of our expectations for securing the court and escorting KU to its locker room."
Curry went on to say that we were disappointed that we did not do better for the KU team and are saddened by the insistence of some of the fans to sully the image of our great institution.
A man died early Sunday morning in Geary County. According to Kansas Highway Patrol, Ronald E. Stump Jr. was driving on K244 when the car drove off the roadway after reaching a dead end. Stump and his passengers were not wearing a seatbelt.
Recently, there was a charity event in Manhattan that has most thinking about it getting chills. Channel 8 reporter Stephanie Peterson is here to tell us about the Polar Plunge and who it benefits. Stephanie?
Thanks, Ryan. This weekend at Tuttle Creek, people jumped into the lake to benefit the Special Olympics, even in the freezing cold. Every year, crazy people brave the Arctic temperatures. They jump into the icy water of Tuttle Creek. Squeals and gasps erupted from the water, with the bull diving head first.
You know, it's a great cause, and we kind of do a lot of 5Ks and things, and so we're kind of into that athletic spirit, and thought what better reason than to do it for a good cause.
Currently, Polar Plunge Kansas has raised $204,512.
I'm Luke Schulte. I'm the Vice President of Development for Special Olympics Kansas, so I oversee all the Polar Plunges across the state of Kansas. Well, the Polar Plunge is a fundraiser for Special Olympics Kansas. All money raised goes to the programs and services that we offer here in North Central Kansas.
This year in Kansas, 9 locations will host the Polar Plunge. More than 50 jumped into the icy water in Manhattan. Hippies, guys in suits, and even cops and robbers.
Crazy people come out to jump in the cold water for Special Olympics and show their support of our athletes. It's a wonderful cause and a wonderful event.
I would consider it. I'd rather go under an electric blanket right now and warm up, but yeah, I'd consider it again. Very fun. Yeah, it's more fun when you get friends to do it with you. Kind of a support, won't back out, but no, I think everybody should try it at least once.
1, 2, 3, let's go! So, Stephanie, what do you think? Are you going to sign up for it next year?
I don't think so. It's a great cause and a fun event, but I think I'll do my charity work in the summer when I can get a tan and not hypothermia.
Good
well,
call.
Thanks for sharing that story with us, Stephanie. The Polar Plunge wasn't the only unique event to draw a crowd.
The Student Government Association's annual drag show strutted its stuff at K-State for the 11th straight year.
This was my first time going, and it was definitely an event like any other.
It's showtime for Victoria Voice. Queens came from all over the country, including K-State alumni.
When I came to Manhattan, I lived here for 5 years while I did my undergrad. And one of the things that I have always taken with me is that drag queens have an opportunity to bring a community together. And when I was here, the community needed that desperately.
The show also brought all sorts of people.
It's very diverse of K-State. I think it's amazing. Kind of goes in with the motto of K-State being everywhere. It doesn't necessarily mean to me that any student can go to K-State. It means that they're open to everyone, and I appreciate that about them.
It can take up to 3 hours for a queen to be ready.
There's a whole bunch of reasons why I do drag. It's a fun way to turn gender on a dime. It's a chance to be completely over the top because you're essentially creating a new character, another persona. It's kind of like being a superhero sometimes, I think.
When they are ready, it's their time.
To be entertaining, whatever that is, whether it's humor or dancing or lip syncing, whatever your niche is, you have to kind of own it. And so getting to perform in front of thousands of people really makes all of the life that I went through in the mid-90s in Kansas completely worth it.
Wow, Daniela, looked like a great time. What'd you think?
Well, it was definitely a very unique experience. However, it was kind of like a no-holds-barred, anything-goes kind of event, so it was definitely not for everyone, but it was still a very entertaining show.
Great. Well, up next, we'll go to K-State's Salina campus to see how drones are changing the way that the school operates.
And we'll take a look at K-State students with a drone of their own. Stay tuned.
If you ever wanted to be on radio, you can by signing up to join the Wildcat 91.9. The station is open to all students, no matter what your major is. The best part, you can get experience right away as well as no sign-up fees. You can be a DJ for the alternative and hip-hop and rap rotation. Or report for news and sports. Wildcat 91.9, KSDB, Manhattan.
Jordan. I'm Michael.
I'm Maureen. May.
And we're four of the members of On the Spot Improv Club. We do everything improvised.
Completely live. We're so good at group thing. We all just say a word and everyone will know what I'm thinking.
Cannibal. If you change your word, then we don't know what you're talking about.
Improvise.
Okay.
One more time. Ribbon.
I don't understand how am I supposed to know what you guys are gonna think?
Hey animal lovers, if you haven't heard, the Sunset Zoo's website is full of information on news, upcoming events, how to get involved, and much more. You can also stay up to date with the zoo by following along on social media sites like Twitter, Pinterest, and Facebook for even more content and become a part of the Sunset community. So get online and check out sunsetzoo.com today.
Welcome back to Channel 8 News. I'm Daniela Martinez-Serrano.
And I'm Ryan Manring.
Making it big is everyone's dream.
From Kansas to Nashville to Hollywood, a Wichita native is chasing his.
Cameron Bedell has a passion for entertaining, and that passion led into the most unusual place.
Channel 8 News reporter Amy Pond is here to tell us about his journey. Amy?
Thanks, Ryan and Daniela. Cameron Bedell recently made it onto American Idol, but a performance in Wichita was one of the highlights of his life.
Bedell's journey has taken him around the country. This is a passion Bedell has had since he was little. But when he was little, he didn't realize that passion would become his career. And this performance was special for him because it was in his hometown.
This is super special for me because Wichita has been like the biggest supporting team like ever. And so coming back here and doing a show for those people I grew up with, people who supported me, and those guys are here at the show tonight, and that's why the show is so important to me.
I've got my freedom. It was an absolutely wonderful experience. Always knew he had a tremendous amount of talent and that he's living the dream that he always wanted to do.
And that dream of his brought him all the way to American Idol.
It was so great to see somebody that you know from Wichita being on American Idol and coming back and supporting our community.
Bedell didn't want to audition for American Idol at first, but his family encouraged him.
Well, they didn't know actually until I made it to Hollywood. I didn't tell anybody. As soon as I made it to Hollywood, I called my mom and I was like, hey, I auditioned for American Idol while they were here, and well, I'm going to California to do Hollywood week. And she's like, oh my gosh, why didn't you tell me, you know? And so then it just spread like wildfire through the family, you know.
And although Bedell was eliminated from American Idol, he's going back to Nashville to continue to pursue music.
There was a great turnout at the concert, and everyone had a blast listening to him and his story.
Absolutely. I bet he met some amazing people and made some great connections while he was out in Hollywood.
Yeah, he had a lot of funny stories, and he even said that one of his friends made it to the top 24, so he's excited to root him on in the rest of the competition.
Absolutely. Well, you'll soon be seeing unmanned drones around Kansas.
That's because K-State Salina is the first entity in the country to receive approval from FAA for statewide access during flight operations. The university received the certificates allowing these aircrafts to fly on any public property during research.
K-State Salina is one of the few universities to offer bachelor's degrees in unmanned aircraft systems.
Whoa.
Now we are joined by Cody Eiserman at the K-State Salina campus to see how these new regulations will affect students in the future of drones. Cody?
Thanks, Ryan. I am here with Mark Blanks, the program manager here at K-State Salina, who is flying a drone inside in a safe environment. As you can see, he is safely landing it in view of sight, and he's going to come over to answer a few questions with us. Mark, thank you for joining us. Just first questions, what are some of the rules and regulations in place right now for these drones or unmanned aircrafts?
Well, contrary to popular belief, there's actually quite a few regulations that apply to unmanned aircraft. They're considered aircraft, so the FAA has jurisdiction of them. There's basically 3 ways to fly: as a hobbyist, as a commercial entity, or as a research entity. We fly for research. Hobbyists can do a lot of stuff, and then commercial requires a special exemption.
Then the FAA new rules, can you talk about what those are and how will they make the airs a safer place?
So the new rules are really about the commercial operation. It would allow anybody pretty much to get an operator certificate and go out and fly outside of populated areas. So that would really enable the industry to take off.
And then that's all we have time for today. I'm sorry. Thank you so much. We're going to send it back to Katie Johnston, who is live in Manhattan.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Katie Johnston, a new drone owner. Katie, tell us a little bit about what a drone is.
Well, a drone is basically it's kind of like a flying hovercraft. I mean, it's used to basically for videographers to produce creative videos. As you can see, I have mine here right now. It's really powerful. You can feel the wind blowing on it. So and the wind out here is blowing it around, but this guy just hovers in air, pretty stationary. I have the DJI Phantom 2. It's a new Vision drone, and it's really nice to make creative videos with.
Thank you so much, Katie. What an awesome drone. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Katie. Hopefully, as we get into the future, you can fly your drone without fear of doing it illegally.
When we come back, we'll see how leaders at K-State are trying to change the world.
And a look at the 5-day forecast. Stay with us. Are we? Welcome back to Channel 8 News. I'm Daniela Martinez-Serrano.
And I'm Ryan Mannering. Spring enrollment is at a record high. According to K-State press release, the Manhattan campus has an enrollment of 20,038 students. This is a historic milestone that is a part of K-State's 2025 plan. Temperatures have been hitting single-digit lows in recent weeks, and while many have been doing everything they can to stay warm, one K-State student has been doing the complete opposite.
Channel 8 News reporter Austin Bars has the story.
Thanks, Daniela and Ryan. While the winter weather takes its toll on most of the country, staying indoors seems like a no-brainer. But not everyone feels that way. When the sun goes down on the Pi Kappa Phi fraternity house, things get a little crazy. Meet Joel Blankenship, the K-State sophomore taking his passion for service to snow-covered new heights.
I'm out here to raise awareness and raise fundraise for my campaign. I'm biking across the United States next summer. I thought it'd be a good idea to bring my campaign from this nationally big, big idea, bike across the United States and bring it to a more localized fashion.
Night after night, Blankenship is braving the cold to help others weather the storms in their lives.
Sleeping out for the past 3 weeks out here on the front lawn of Pi Kappa Phi at 513 Sunset Avenue. What I'm really trying to do here is I'm really trying to draw a connect between the community and my campaign.
Despite sleeping in a climate straight out of Disney's Frozen, Blankenship says the cold never bothered him anyway.
I use currently is a winter grade, so when it's 0 degrees outside, I'm still warm. I've actually once or twice had to downgrade from what I'm wearing right now just because it gets too hot in there.
Blankenship says it has helped him raise over $2,000 of his $7,000 goal, and as the weather gets warmer, he's actually hoping to invite the community to join him in sleeping out. So is that something you guys think you might be brave enough to endure?
Well, it might be when it warms up, but right now I think I'll help him get the word out.
I definitely agree with you, Ryan. And, well, as tough as Joel is, I'm sure he is hoping for some warmer weather. Does it look like we'll be getting anything, Megan?
Yes, Daniela, for right now, it is pretty warm outside. Like I said earlier, the temperatures are pretty comfortable. As you can see, it's sunny, pretty cloudy, but the snow is melting fast, and that won't stick around for too long. Let's take a look at the national weather forecast first. Up in Seattle, you can see a similar high around 56 degrees, but there is a very different extreme down in Florida. You can see it's about 78 degrees in Miami right now. And then as we move up to the Chicago area, it's going to be about 20 degrees. That's where we get to the cold front that is moving up to this area, and it might be coming back to Kansas later on this week. But first, let's take a look at the rest of Kansas for right now. Like I said, right now it's about 40 degrees in the Riley County area, similar out in Johnson County, but as we move down to Wichita, it's about in the high 40s, and temperatures are dropping. Let's take a look at the 5-day forecast, where you can see that it is moving. Right now it's sunny, about high of 50 degrees, low of 13 degrees, but as we move on later in the week, snow is in the forecast for Saturday and Sunday with a high around 32 degrees, low around 26. So make sure you keep that in mind for your weekend plans, that the snow might be back. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Megan. We'll make sure that we enjoy the nice weather while we still have it. Up next, we'll show you what some of K-State's Cowboys and Cowgirls have been up to in Weber Hall.
And a recap of the Sunflower Showdown. Stay tuned.
Non-traditional students are an important piece of K-State heritage. Some of these students are veterans returning back to civilian population after serving in our armed forces. This can be a troubling time for these veterans. Trying to adjust back to civilian life can be a hard obstacle to overcome. The Veterans Center at K-State helps these students with this transition. Through counseling and other means, these veterans can find the help they need for this transition at the K-State Veterans Center. The center is located on the ground floor of the Student Union just inside Salsaritas.
Yes.
By signing up to join the Wildcat 91.9. The station is open to all students, no matter what your major is. The best part, you can get experience right away as well as no sign-up fees. You can be a DJ for the alternative and hip-hop and rap rotation. Or report for news and sports. Wildcat 91.9, KSDB, Manhattan.
Welcome back to Channel 8 News. I'm Ryan Manring.
And I'm Daniela Martinez-Serrano. K-State held its 59th annual rodeo at Weber Hall around people people around the country attending.
Channel 8 News reporter Natalie Otto is here to tell us more. Natalie?
Thanks, Danielle and Ryan. This weekend, 15 women's teams and 12 men's teams traveled to Manhattan to compete at the K-State Rodeo. And he's off, and so is his hat, and so is the 59th annual K-State Rodeo. Bareback riding, calf roping. Contestants competed in 10 different events. Their goal, team and individual first place.
You ride bucking horses with like a rawhide and leather handle, and you just spur them, and the horses get marked 1 to 50, and then you get marked 1 to 50 on how well you spur them.
Wesley Cole of Oklahoma Panhandle State University and fellow collegiate rodeo athletes spent all year saddling up their horses, lacing their boots, and traveling throughout the Central Plains region. This is the National Intercollegiate Rodeo Association.
We have practice quite a bit. We try to go to the gym and stay in shape and just be ready to go in all aspects of it.
The K-State Rodeo is one of 10 rodeos the Wildcats compete in each year. It is their only locally held rodeo.
Probably just traveling to all the towns and meeting new people and doing as well as you can, competing against yourself as well as hanging out with your buddies.
Teams from Kansas and Oklahoma descended upon Manhattan for the 3-day rodeo. It is a demanding and sometimes painful sport that they love. The K-State Rodeo team had a successful weekend as senior Shelby Leonard placed 10th in goat tying and sophomore Caitlin Ike tied for 6th place in barrel racing.
Yeah, you know, I've heard rodeo events are some of the most physically demanding competitive sports that we can do. I don't know if I could ever do it, but maybe it's worth riding a bull sometime or something.
Yeah, I know. I definitely have a lot of respect for the athletes who compete. Thanks, Natalie. Now to a different kind of athletic competition. Students were out in full force for the big basketball game on Monday.
But before they were in the game, they might have been left out in the cold. Channel 8 News reporter Zoldy the Union has more. Zoldy?
Ryan, the student lineup was made to organize a way for the students to get into big games like this, but this year, they might not have needed it. The site was Bramlage Coliseum. The event, the Sunflower Showdown. Students piled into the stadium as in-state rival Kansas Jayhawks come into Manhattan to face a K-State Wildcats.
It's definitely the best game atmosphere that I've been a part of.
But before he could get into that atmosphere, he first has to wait for a while.
We got here at 6 o'clock this morning, stand in the cold and brave the cold to see our Cats hopefully win.
Colby Harris wasn't the only one out early, yet something still felt odd about the student line this time around. Even with a couple hours left before the gates open, you would normally see this line packed with students. However, as you can tell, this year that's not the case, and some fans believe they know why.
Hopefully it's because of tests in classes. Probably because the weather, it's a little bit chilly. Maybe there's some fans who are deterred by the season. I think the record, 13, 15, that's all. I mean, I know plenty of people that are trying to sell their tickets.
Regardless of attendance, these fans were still optimistic about their chances.
I think we're just as capable as competing with KU. We have competed with top teams in the Big 12. No matter what this record is, we're still going to win. Still going to try our hardest.
And in the end, their devotion paid off. Now, as you saw, the Wildcats did pull out the win, but I'll let sports anchor Katie Johnson tell you a bit more about the game.
Katie, what did you think of the big game on Monday?
You guys, it was crazy exciting. The fans were ready to go. The crowd intensity was incredible. Thank you guys. But we had the Wildcats starting off with a 2-loss streak moving into the big Monday game ESPN was hosting. Junior Perry Ellis started off with a 52 seconds into the game, but that silence didn't last long as sophomores Marcus Foster and Wesley Iwundu sink back-to-back layups after Iwundu made a huge steal. When the next possession, Ellis fires back with a layup. The crowd was extremely intense at this point. K-State was up 31 moving into the second half. The Wildcats started falling behind initially. Jayhawks freshman Kelly Oubre Jr. with a dunk, but Nigel Johnson hits a 3-point to tie the game up with 11 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. Johnson and senior Nina Williams dominating forces in the second half. They stepped up their coverage of Perry Ellis and eventually secured a safe lead over the Jayhawks, and the student section rushed the court. Final score of 70-63 Kansas State. Now, sophomore Kindred Wiesman for the Lady Cats was a key first half player. She lands a 3-point and later makes a steal for a layup. The Cats were down 5 points moving into the second half, though, 25-30. Senior Asha Woods was an asset for K-State, hitting 8 of her 14 field goals. While OU got in some foul trouble, senior Haley Tejada sunk 8 of her 12 free throws. But unfortunately, the Wildcats could not overcome the first half deficit and finished with a loss of 64-73. Here you see them. So the women's team does travel to KU today, and the men's team faces Iowa State on Saturday for their final home game.
I'm excited for the game. Let's hope they get the same results as Monday. Thanks, Katie.
We're going to take one last break. When we return, we'll take one final look at weather. Stay tuned.
Non-traditional students are an important piece of K-State heritage. Some of these students are veterans returning back to civilian population after serving in our armed forces. This can be a troubling time for these veterans. Trying to adjust back to civilian life can be a hard obstacle to overcome. The Veterans Center at K-State helps these students with this transition. Through counseling and other means, these veterans can find the help they need for this transition at the K-State Veterans Center. The center is located on the ground floor of the Student Union just inside Salsaritas.
The benefits for volunteering for the younger kids, for the middle school kids especially, I think it's really just fun and it's experience with animals that you don't get all the time.
Welcome back. I'm Daniela Martinez-Serrano.
And I'm Ryan Manring. Let's take one last look outside with our weather woman, Megan Miller. Megan?
Thank you, Daniela and Ryan. As I mentioned earlier, it's very comfortable, very nice right now, about 40 degrees. It is warming up. Later you'll expect about 50, 55 degrees even, and the sun is shining, as you can see. A few clouds out, but nothing too crazy. And down here you can see that the sun is melting the snow quite a bit. Like I mentioned earlier, last week, if you were anywhere around the Manhattan area, you know that it was freezing, there was snow everywhere. So this week looks a little better, but don't forget about later on this weekend how the snow may be back, and you'll see temperatures about 23 degrees. So make sure you keep that in mind when you're making your weekend plans. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks so much, Megan. Well, what did you think about the hype of Manhattan this week after that big KU win?
You know, I was actually there at Bramlage Coliseum, and let me tell you, the court storming was like any other. You know, that big win against KU was definitely something here that brought up the Manhattan community and just, you know, put up our joys and all that.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Hey, well, that's all we have time for this week. Join us next week for another edition of Channel 8 News. I'm Ryan Manring.
And I'm Daniela Martinez-Serrano. Thanks for watching Channel 8 News.